Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd Podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. I'm in the take business. Podcast business is a little less like that because we have conversations that last an hour. But I was thinking about it this weekend. I thought the James Harden of the Clippers was a disaster. And I'm watching that game today, and I'm like, shit, that thing is working. I don't remember the last time I had an NBA take that was so bad. I thought Westbrook, Kawhi's weird, Paul George is excellent. Ty Lue can deal with dysfunction, but I'm like, this is like an old rock band where they all had issues and you're trying to work them to get along with each other again. I'm like, this isn't good. It's going to be terrible. And I watched them tonight and I'm like, they get a good shot every time down the floor. What in the world? And Lawrence Frank was at a club I go to occasionally, a private club in LA, and he was sitting having dinner one night and I sat up next to him like, Lawrence Frank, we talked for an hour about it. And I said, God, I thought it was going to be a mess. And he said, Harden bought into it. Harden just said, I want to win. I got $300 million in the bank. I want to win some games. And so I'm watching today and I'm like, God, was I wrong on that thing? Give me your sports take when you look back and think, and mine may be Kirk Cousins, but with James Harden, in the last year or two, have you had a huge whiff?
I thought that the Russell Wilson trade from Seattle would go down as the worst trade in like one of the history of the leagues for the Seattle Seahawks. Because there's no way you could trade a player of that caliber, what he meant for your franchise, and how good he would be for them. And it actually went the polar opposite way. Like Deshaun Watson, it was clear, like, I don't know if I would be doing this. That was weird. Aaron Rodgers was old. It had gotten weird. But the Russell thing, right? He's 32, 33 years old. You're like, I get it was weird, but he's going to go to Denver. And this was before Sean Payton. And he didn't even last 2 years. I mean, he was benched before the second year ended, and it is easily on Denver's side. I mean, I thought in a weird way, it kind of ended Pete, though it wasn't because of the trade. It was just it kind of petered out and you saw, but it is, you could argue from now, I would say the Browns are in the mix, but it's got to be in my lifetime when you factor in the dead money, all the picks you gave up, the situation it created for Sean Payton. I mean, one of the worst trades any sport ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And it's, the Aaron thing when he got old, so all these, Deshaun Watson, a bunch of weird shit off. The Russell thing, and you've talked, never see, because even James Harden, I went to a Warrior game in his heyday with the Rockets. I remember in like game one, he scored 35. Like he can have these moments. He's had a lot of bad moments, but no one's ever disputed like his talent and his ability. He just doesn't give a shit on defense, and he kind of loafs sometimes when he's not feeling it. But when he tries, like he is a high-end player. Yeah. Russell just went from like James Harden, high-end player, to just average to not any good.
It's insane. Crazy. With no injury.
And I don't think I've ever seen it in athletics. I mean, it doesn't happen in sports.
No, I was the same way. I'm like, Pete, you've been fired 2 times before this in the NFL. You were 7-9 before Russ. What are you doing? And Pete was having some issues behind the scenes that I've had validated. He and John Snyder were really at the end where people don't know. John Snyder had Pete's son on the scouting staff, and went to Pete and said, "We're gonna move off him." The next day Pete puts him on his coaching staff. So that was kind of a facial. That whole situation.
I'm sure Steve told you yesterday. That's happening all over the league. The head coach and the GMs button heads about stupid shit.
Yeah.
Not even big picture stuff.
Yeah. So Seattle had some of that stuff going on behind the scenes. But yeah, in my lifetime, I thought I've never seen a player in their early 30s who I thought was elite. I mean, Jesus, Russell's passer ratings were over 100 4 years in a row. Now, you can say, well, the passer rating is a little overvalued, but over 100.
If you just watched him, he was good.
Yes. And then he was terrible. It's one of the things. This weekend to me is the best weekend of the year, not counting the NFL season. Now, you may throw in the Masters because you love golf more than I do. I like it. But I this weekend I watched draft the whole damn weekend. I watched the Knicks Sixers. I watched the Lakers Nuggets a little bit the second half, but I had a ball. I had so
are the
much fun
Sixers one of the greatest failed experiments in the history of sports? I mean,
Well,
they tank forever and they get and now I mean, they're gonna lose this series. They're not
somebody
coming back.
somebody said this on the internet, and I thought it was really accurate. Embiid may be 7'2". He plays 6'4" a lot,
Well, he shoots
screwing
threes
around
nonstop.
nonstop. He's screwing around at the top with the ball. He gets beat rebounding regularly late in games. Is that Embiid? You can't convince me you're a great player if in the weak Eastern Conference you can't win a second playoff series. If you watch the Knicks Sixers, there's no question Brunson's the better star. That's not even
Yeah.
dispute. Now he takes a lot of shots, but there's no question nobody on that team resents him. Like everybody's in on Brunson. You kind of feel with the Sixers sometimes that if you could privately talk to the players, Maxey and Harris, some of these guys, they'd roll their eyes at him. He plays for his size small. Brunson for his size plays big. And I just come out of this and I'm like, Embiid, I know you hated Jokic and you gave him the MVP. And that's always been a story award more than the truth. Westbrook won an MVP. But we have to file what Embiid under. He's been a media darling more than he's been great.
And in another life, Tom Thibodeau is not coaching basketball. He's an NFL coach. Probably started as an O-line guy. That's the vibe I get from Tom Thibodeau. Because the Knicks, when I was a kid, they played just like this, ugly. They just it felt like at any moment a brawl could break out. It's enjoyable, and clearly their fans like it. I saw Embiid was said after the game like it was half Knicks fans in there.
Well, they're only 90 minutes apart,
Yeah, it's not very far. It's easy drive.
and the Knicks fans have been starved. I've said this before when I lived on the East Coast, and I really did. I really love the people in the East Coast. Now the winters aren't great, but as you get older, I can wear a coat. Like I can get over it.
Yeah.
Um, I loved the people. I always said this. People always said New York was a baseball town, and I'm like, Yankee Stadium was empty in the '80s. The Knicks have been a mess for most of the last 20 years. You can't get a tickets to a Knicks game. There's two baseball teams, right? There's two NFL teams. There's one NBA team. And when I was there, everybody I knew loved the Knicks. Half the town didn't like the Giants with their Super Bowls. Half the town was a Mets fan. So it's New York is it's one of those things where you just forget. People did this with the Warriors. You forget what a great basketball city it is. Like when I grew up in the '70s, Golden State won a title with Rick Barry, Al Attles, Clifford Ray, Mullins, Jeff Mullins, I think Jamal Wilkes, and they were really good for a stretch. The '70s was weird. Everybody won like one title. The Bullets with Elvin Hayes, the Sonics with DJ Gus Williams, Jack Sigma. Everybody won one. The Sixers with Dr. J.
Didn't Washington win a title?
Yeah, Kevin Greavy, Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld, Bobby Dandridge. I think Bobby Dandridge was on that team. That was my indoctrination to sports. I was a huge NBA guy. I collected NBA cards in the '70s. Um, and the Knicks, by the way, won in I think '71 or '72. Lakers may have won in '72. Knicks won in '71. Could be wrong. I'm in the ballpark. Frazier, Monroe, Willis Reed, that stuff. But one of the things that you forget, and you forgot it about the Warriors, it was always a great NBA city. Always a great NBA city. Just had either bad ownership or bad teams for 30 years. New York, I think it's a basketball city. I think there are no shows all over that town when teams go sideways. The Knicks have been embarrassing, feudal. Some would argue, Dolan now feels like he has Leon Wood. He's stepped back. He trusts his ownership. So James Dolan now is like, he's like a normal owner. But when I watch those Knick games, the league has all these small teams, all these OKCs and Indianas that are fascinating right now. They need the Knicks. Like the NBA needs the Knicks.
Can I give you a guy that I don't think they need? And I had the game on the other day and I looked up and it was sad. Is the Kevin Durant experience is just an all-time these last 4 or 5. I mean, the gutless performance, they got destroyed. And it feels he's kind of gone full mercenary and just kind of goes from team to team. And there's no emotion. Like LeBron's clearly not the same, but you see him trying. Curry and those guys go out swinging. You just watch Kevin Durant. You're like, what is this? It's pretty sad for a guy at one point in time. Look like I remember going to games thinking it's like one of the best players I've ever seen. And it's not like he's 42 years old. I know he's a little older now, but it's a tough watch. I mean, I thought it was pretty embarrassing.
No question. I was talking to somebody in my field recently, and they were talking about somebody who it's a media person that is struggling. And I said, weird doesn't work. Eventually, weird doesn't work. People don't like to be around them. They're unpredictable. Aaron Rodgers has gotten a little weird. Kevin Durant's gotten a little weird. Kawhi Leonard, a little odd. Now, when I say weird,
I'd say this for Rodgers. He was winning MVPs a couple years ago. At least he produced later in his career.
Yeah. But Aaron's gotten old, single, rich, no kids, no pets, no mate. It's like
7 houses all over the place, flying around.
Yeah.
Podcasters.
It's like it just doesn't, Kevin and Aaron Rodgers have always been sort of, again, rich, no wife, no kids, no pets, spend too much time rabbit ears on the internet, and they're both gifted. But those people are hard to build around because you don't like mystery is great for books and movies. It's not great for sports teams. Like Brady, you knew exactly what you got. Kobe, actually, Kobe, from people that knew him, was like, he was just a creature of habit. He ate the same thing every night of the season. Fresh salmon, like every night of the season. Small glass. I mean, it was just bizarre. He was like, just, and it's like, but you know what you get with Kobe. You get some ego, you get some shots. I think Kevin is kind of just, I think mercenary is the right language, the right word. He just wants to shoot, score, and do other things. And it's like, it's hard to build around that.
Yeah, to me, he kind of represents, with LeBron, I bet the Lakers probably losing 5. Obviously, Curry's gone. He just feels like those guys, if you just ask someone casually about LeBron or Curry, you could have a long conversation. I feel like Kevin Durant, you're like, yeah, they don't even care. He just kind of lost everybody. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. He's become, frankly, kind of an irrelevant NBA player.
He really has.
Think about this. He had the best owner, arguably in the league, the best coach, and the best teammate. Lacob, Kerr, and Curry. And he left for Kyrie Irving. And I said, the NBA media supports more than reports. If Mahomes left for the Jets, he said, yeah, the slot receiver, I love him. I'm going to the Jets. You'd be like, the fuck are you doing? Bro, what are you doing? In the NBA, Kevin leaves the penthouse and goes to a fixer-upper. And everybody's like, well, he's a unique spirit. That's a bad business decision.
Yeah. And it hasn't worked out, not even close.
Yeah, if I left Fox and went to Vice or something like that, it's like, that's a bad business decision. Like, don't do that. So I think Kevin got a little bit of a pass because, the NBA is, creative, and these are, like international soccer guys. There's egos, they're highly compensated, they're artists. It's a terrible decision. Get over it. Deal with Draymond, get therapy, get over it.
I'm with you.
All right, John. As always, great chatting, and we'll talk soon.
Have a good week. See you.